Hello friends, you're with the Lonesome Gamer and I'm playing 1853. Now this is probably going to be the last video of the series, simply because the bank will probably break pretty soon. We take a look here at the runs. I would say in average we make about, I don't know, maybe something like 3,000 or 300, 350, something like that. And then we have to add a mail run for the companies, which is usually another 50 to 100 bucks. So I think we can say it's about 400. That's what we make per company in average. So we got our 8 companies. That means each operating round we're kind of generating about 3,000 bucks, a little more, of revenue. So if we take a look here at the bank, we got about 1, 2. Well, these are 4,000. Maybe 5,000, 6,000, something like that I would say is in the bank left. But I think it's pretty safe to say that the bank will break after 2 operating rounds. Maybe 3 if someone still is willing to buy a train. This guy maybe here, but I really have my doubts here. So I am pretty sure it's going to be over after 2 operating rounds. Yeah, maximum of 3, I guess. Okay. Anyway, let's go to the 3rd operating round of this cycle. And by the way, when the bank breaks, the game will end by the end of this. By the end of the operating round of the last company here, of company 8. So we don't have to play a full cycle or so like in some other games. Okay, we go now again to the first company here. Okay, it's kind of interesting. This tile here, that one, can be upgraded into this one. Now, first, the intention of the EIR was to place a dot here, which would piss off people pretty heavily because then they cannot make that run anymore. However, if I place a dot here or a city there, or the simple fact that it can be upgraded makes that a critical point, because if someone else then places a dot here, I cannot really run my 3 train or my 3M train in a profitable way. So I guess I have to make sure that I don't get caught there off guard. And yeah, I'm gonna remove that thing. Instead upgrade this. Okay, and then I will place a dot there. I mean, it might also hurt some other people. I'm not sure about that, but at least I make sure I still got this connection. I think it will hurt actually the GIP, the orange player, and I got now this exclusive access point to Delhi. Cool. I mean, now you can see this is really a problem with the components. If we want to upgrade this tile here into a 50 tile, okay, let's see if we can do that. Ooh, look at, yeah, fuck. It's really hard. I mean, so we can place this tile in here and we got a nice 50 tile. And we got to be very careful here. And especially if you're someone who loves to have this a little bit in order. It's really, you know, every touch basically makes it just worse. Okay, fine. And there we go. So this now gives the GIP the option to make a solid run with 2 4-trains, 100, 110, 140, 60, 70, 80, 200, 250 with the first train. Yeah, and the second train is then 300, 310, 320, 330, 370, 80, 450, 460, 490 if I'm not mistaken. So that is also a really good run. And yeah, the companies are making a lot of money, especially the ones the major companies. They're making now a lot of money here. The B&R, the green company, they lose a lot of money because of this dot. They have a 3M train and they cannot run that train anymore to Delhi now. I mean, okay, they have this 50 here, which isn't too bad. So it's something like 50, 70, 80, 90, 110. But it's, you know, I mean, it was clearly more valuable before. The problem is the only brown cities that are left is basically this type here. And yeah, you cannot upgrade many of these green cities, for example, that one, or also this one, I think. Yeah, you cannot upgrade these green cities anymore now. So yeah, that route is blocked for the rest of the game. However, what I'm trying to do with the B&R is I'm trying to build a good run for the ECR. I might be able to go through here, work together with the, what is that? The BBCI, to make a big connection to Delhi. The question is, I could do that if I place 2 tiles here, and the BBCI places a tile here, and then we already have a really strong run down from Delhi like this. We could go all the way down here to whatever that is. That would be a really tempting thing, but I mean, it would be good for the ECR. And the ECR could make a lot of money. So yeah, I might really consider doing that. I think that's a good choice. So let's see what we can find here. Something like this. Yeah, that's a hill. And another one here. Wait a minute. I think what's even more interesting is if I can... Hey, look at that. That's even better. I wonder if I mean, that's really an interesting choice. If I can place 2 tiles like this, then this guy will be cut off here and cannot go through here. I mean, he might then do a defensive tile placement, however, and try to prevent me from getting in there. Yeah, that would kind of suck. If he comes up with a tile like this, then, for example, there's no way. Yeah, I cannot. It's pretty impossible to get in there then. So I guess I might do something where we both profit from. So I'm gonna allow him to. Yeah, I think I'm gonna allow him to use that connection too. Otherwise, he could really hurt me here. So I'm gonna do it like this. And like this. Okay, cool. Yeah, the BNR lost a few bucks because of this here, which sucks, about 40 or so. They can now only make a run like this, basically. Yeah, here and then end up here. 50, 70, yeah. But the cool thing is they have this massive run from here, from Delhi up like this, down here, go through here, that's where their station is, the green one, then this way here, go down here like this, go here, down here, and then take these 10 bucks here. That's really massive. And it was in the end overall a 500 run, which isn't super great, but it's okay. And finally, the BBCI is running profitable. They make here, with their 3 train, they can go like this. That's not too impressive, it's just 80 bucks. But now they can finally run their 5 train, basically from here, from Delhi, down here. They have now the connection here, this way here, all the way down to here into the south, and that means they make 400 bucks per run, which is pretty good. And it is not quite enough to push it 4 spaces up, but it goes up 3 spaces, and that is definitely awesome. Okay, the ECR now had their good run from Delhi down here to Madras, and they also placed the tokens here there, so nobody can take away that from them. And it gives them, it was a 290 run, so that brings them 3 spaces up, and they're gonna have another jump like that in the next turn. By the way, the SIR, they are still run by the manager. They simply, they made, I don't know, something like 100 or so, 140, and they had to swallow, so the share value dropped, obviously. The MSM is still in a really poor position here. They upgraded this city here, that one, and yeah, they also made these 140. Now they have at least enough money in there to cut through the mountains here, but it's too late. You know, they will not be able to make that connection here to Bombay. If you are alone as a minor company, it's pretty hopeless, you know, it really is. And these 5 shares here probably were a pretty bad investment. I mean, okay, in the end, the company came with a lot of capital, and I think somehow it was, I don't know, I mean, I'm not sure, but I think that some train shuffling went on there, so in the end he was definitely profiting from this action. But now, maybe he should have sold a few shares earlier on, but on the other hand, it's still better than this crap here, so yeah. At least it pays out and makes some money. But it also doesn't go up a lot. It's in this 100 range, which is basically where you don't want to be. You know, you only make your $4 per turn. Below it's better, above it's obviously clearly better, but this is just the area where you do not get a lot of share value. So we're at the end now of this cycle of operating rounds, and the elephant's holder has now the option to do another one, but he clearly doesn't, because he is not at his share limit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He could have more than, he could hold 3 more, while I think all the others are above the limit because they still hold the shares of the ECR, which didn't count against the certificate limit when they were purchased. They made, in 3 operating rounds, they went basically from 30 to 96. That's just amazing. So yeah, I think he clearly does not want. It doesn't really matter, I guess, because he probably will be the loser anyway. We can see it already a little bit. These guys all have 4 of these purple 500 coins, and but they hold more shares. So I mean, of course the share value also makes a difference here, but it's not like he's definitely not holding shares of the top company. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not gonna be the winner, but it's going to be a very close race overall. We have all these companies very close together here, and we'll see who will be the winner. My bet would go on him because he holds the most shares, but then again, we're talking about shitty shares like that, the MSM. Well, but okay, I mean, it's not that bad. Yeah, I guess we'll see. Anyway, we're going to see another stock round at that point. And I think it's not going to be too interesting. Basically, people are going to sell off shares at that point, trying to come to their certificate limit. Well, this guy here, I guess at that point he simply passes. There's not a lot he can do. He could buy these crappy shares, but that doesn't help at all. And he doesn't want that one either. Maybe he's going to sell that one, but maybe later. There's nothing to buy right now. So this guy, yeah, that's now the question. What do you want to sell in this situation? He has 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13. He's exactly at the limit. Oh, that's interesting. 2, 4, 7, 9, 10. Yeah, he's at the limit. So actually he doesn't have to sell anything, and he won't, because these guys are clearly worse. So why should he sell anything? They won't make money in the next operating round. The company is not quite there yet. Maybe they can buy the train in the upcoming operating round, but then they will be only able to pay out when the game is basically over. So, I mean, let me see. It's not, you know, how many, we got $1,000 in here. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, I don't know. It's not that easy. Maybe we can see another operating round. That's going to be very close. These are probably about 1,000. So maybe there are $3,000 in there, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be enough. I think we're making more than $3,000 per operating round. And yeah, pretty sure about that. If this guy is going to buy a train though, that's interesting. Yeah, he will have to buy the train, which then brings another 600 into the company, into the bank. So we might actually see one more operating round. I mean, if these shares would not count against the share limit, the SIR shares could be actually interesting, you know, but they do. And the SIR doesn't pay more than the MSM, which is for now the weakest performer. So these two are only at 14 per share. I guess there's no reason to exchange shares against the shares of the SIR at all. This guy holds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 12, 14. Okay, he is at 18 shares or 18 certificates. So that means he has to sell 2. And I think at that point it's pretty obvious that we're going to sell shares of the MSM. As I said, it only makes 14 per run, and it is also one of the weakest in share value. It only goes up a single space, so that really sucks. We're going to sell these guys for 100 per share. Wait a minute. We can have 16. Maybe I messed this up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. No, it's correct, yeah. It's 16. So this guy is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, that means he's got to sell a single share, which is also going to be one of the MSM, I guess, for $100. Now, here of course. I mean, compared to these two guys, he is still holding 2 more shares because he holds 3 presidencies, while the others are only holding 1 each. So that means, he holds these 2 more shares. And the fact that he has a little less money, but not much, but a little less, maybe $300 or something like that. I think he might be at, 300 to 400 less. But he holds 2 more shares. So, gosh, that's going to be super close between these 3 players. It's really going to be extremely close. Okay, so at that situation, this guy holds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So he can exactly buy 3 more shares. And he's going to grab these 3. The others will always pass because there's no reason to buy anything. So he's going to buy these 3 shares. He holds now 40% of the company. The presidency stays with him, though. By the way, in the last video, I kind of messed up with the presidency up here. I don't think it has a massive impact because it was the presidency of the SIR. So the manager position would have been, I think, with him instead of him, but it doesn't make a difference by now. And I didn't want to change it. But there was a moment for just about a single stock turn or so when this guy sold down to 10% and he was still holding 20%. And at that moment, the presidency, of course, would have gone to him, and if then he would have also sold down to 10%, he would have actually been the manager of the SIR. But because the SIR simply doesn't make any money during this whole game anymore, maybe in the very last operating round, but who cares? This will not have an impact. He cannot make any relevant decisions. There is no train shuffling possible or whatever. But yeah, this is something, you know, if this game would have gone on for a little longer, it could have had quite an impact. But okay, luckily that's not the case here. So I got to pay $300 for these shares. And now I'm finally also at my share limit. But yeah, I'm clearly not holding such great certificates. I mean, especially these are pretty poor. So we probably see the last operating round now, and yeah, I'll let you know if something of interest happens. Actually, during the stock round, one last minor decision is there to make. It's about that single share of the SIR. Is the guy willing to sell it or not? I mean, the thing is, it will drop in the next operating round because the company cannot pay out. So he will lose another $8, which kind of sucks. But now the question is, will there be one more operating round after that or not? Because if there will be, it will pay out and will rise again, probably even 2 spaces. So in the end, he will make a little bit of money with it. But problem is, we don't know. It's really hard to decide in this situation. You know, I think I wanna keep that. I mean, it's not like I could buy something else for it, right? There are no other shares out there. So I think, okay, I'm gonna keep that share for now. And if I lose another $7 or $9, yeah, who cares? If I make, but maybe I can make a few, whatever. I don't want to calculate that now exactly. Okay, so the first 4 companies operated. There were basically no changes. There is no options to upgrade anything anymore at that point. I'm basically just running the trains. Also, no stations were placed. There are no interesting choices possible, no interesting options. It's going to be super close. We see 4 more companies operating. I think we might actually see one more operating round. What's kind of funny that is people have a little bit of influence here. If they, for example, choose to make a little bit of a shorter run, let's say, for example, the BNR, I think they went from, yeah, I think they went from Delhi 1, 2, 3. Then like this 4, 5. So the thing is, they could, yeah, they do this. If they make a mail run now and decide to stop here instead of here, which is legal in this game, then the difference would be another $60 for the mail run. So the company, I mean, they would pay out $10 less, but basically it's a $50. Yeah, no, it's a $60 difference, I think. I'm not totally sure. But in this way, you can, you know, if they pay out instead 10 and make another 10 of them for the mail run. Yeah, I think it's only a $50 difference. But still, you know, if it's that close here, and if a few players want to make sure that the next operating round doesn't happen, or they really want to try to do so, they could try to optimize things and try to make really high mail runs, which might bring maybe another $300 or so out of the bank that would otherwise remained in the bank. But I mean, this is really advanced stuff, and nobody is at that moment willing to do something like this. Okay, now considering that there is actually probably one more operating round, what this guy wants to do, and this is a dicky move, but still, he wants to place a station here. And that will shake things up, will force me to recalculate quite a few runs. And yeah, it will decrease the income of quite a few runs, because now Madras is no longer in reach for many of these companies. So we might see, or we will see now, that some companies will clearly lose a little bit of money. This guy actually realized now he made a mistake. I didn't remember that even if this company has a train, if it is controlled by a manager, I cannot pay out. So that was basically kind of a rule mistake. So anyway, I'm going to keep it now. I'm not going to undo that. I should have sold it for 57. But okay, these kind of things happen also during a real game. So I make, let me see, I make 140. Now let's see how much money I hold. Oh, and I make another mail run of 60 basically. Okay, we have here now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's 100. So that's going to be enough to buy myself now the 4 train. And that means that basically 600 bucks go back into the bank, and we're definitely going to see one more operating round at that point. 2, 3. Oops. Okay, there we go. Share value drops, and this guy is now kind of pissed, man. He's losing at that point another 20 bucks. Yeah, that was stupid, but okay. Run was 290, and the share value is at 96, which is just enough to let it rise another 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. So it is really performing well. And by the way, the MSM also went up, I think 2 or 3 spaces. So it also made I think 3 spaces, yeah. So it's also really doing good now toward the end of the game. We have a mail run here, I think, of 130. There we go. So okay, that's it for this operating round. Oops. And this is going to be the last one. Now I'm pretty sure about that. We're going to have about, I don't know, not even 2,000 in the company, and or in the bank. Nobody can afford a train, or is willing. I mean, maybe, you know, if we would swallow now and then try to somehow prolong the game, maybe there could be a reason if someone is interested to do that. But I don't know if someone really would profit. It's hard to tell, you know, especially if you would swallow now, you would, of course, again, lose money, basically. So I think nobody will do that. So we're going now in the last operating round. Okay, so the BNR is paying out. They make 470, and at that point I say, okay, the company is broke, the bank is broken here, and I'm gonna add some fresh money. So this is definitely the last operating round. And yeah, that token placement here actually did affect the GIP pretty hard. They lost, I don't know, nearly $100 for their run, and these guys were not quite as bad. It's about $50 or so. They can still make their Delhi Calcutta run instead, which is a really good one. But because the GIP doesn't control these spaces here, they kind of have to go south, and then this is the end. They cannot make it to Madras anymore. Okay, the game is at an end. The operating round ended. The ECR went up another 2 spaces here. And, well, yeah, it's... I guess it's been really an interesting game. It's very, very close. I haven't calculated the result yet. So, I guess it's going to be between these 3. This guy seems to be behind, although also he has a lot of cash. But I think that his share value isn't that great. But the others are doing really well. We have here 3 shares very close together, 3 companies very close together. That one also managed to make a lot of money during the last 3-4 operating rounds. Of course, the ECR did fantastic. And yeah, we'll see what we get. I'll be back when I have the results. Okay, I have the result, and the result follows exactly the turn order. So this guy up here, he wins the game with overall 8,129. Then it's him with 8,020. This guy here, 7,592. He's much more behind than I actually thought. I thought he would be closer with these other guys. And he is quite a bit back, 6,066. So what is really interesting, though, is that when it comes to money, these guys have basically the same. I mean, he has even 10 or 9 more bucks than the winner. But the interesting thing is, and it's really only that single share that it comes down to, this guy holds basically 1 more share of the NWR. And the only difference that they have, and this guy holds instead a share of the BBCI. That's all there is. They hold exactly the same number of shares. The one, the NWR, the other one, the BBCI. And we can see here the NWR is worth 300, the BBCI is worth 182, and this is more or less the $100 difference. It's crazy if you think about that, you know, after all these hours of play. It's only a single share that they invested differently in, and yeah, that turned out to be then the winning decision. That's pretty crazy. Mainly, it was probably simply because of the fact that this guy once was ahead in priority and was able to buy, I don't know, maybe the last share of the NWR. I could imagine something like that, and that in the end did cost the other player the game. I mean, that is just crazy, you know, but it's awesome. I love that. I absolutely love it. That, yeah, the first and second player are just one single share investment decision apart. That is fascinating for me. Why did this guy not as great as I thought? Well, I mean, the interesting thing is he holds clearly more shares than the other guys, but the shares are not that good. And also he doesn't have that much money. He has basically $300 less. I mean, if we take a look here, priority, the top runner is the EIR, which these guys each hold 40% of. Is that the reason? I don't know. Maybe, you know, over the course of the game, it makes a lot of money, and it nearly was the top runner all the time. There was a short time when the BNR did really perform well, but I mean, they did perform well all the time, but when they were ahead of all the others, maybe for 1 or 2 operating rounds, but then the EIR clearly managed to come back. The 40% of the MSM, they clearly did not help. It didn't make a lot of money at all. And, well, the BBCI managed to make money now by the end of the game, but for a long time it didn't. He holds only a single share of the NWR. Okay, I mean, these were all not the big money makers though, but I think the MSM could have been the main reason, you know, because it really performed poorly all through the game, and that is possibly the reason. Even the NWR did better, and these guys hold shares of it. Yeah, that might be a main reason here. Why is the portfolio? I don't know. I mean, the portfolio, let me see. This guy holds basically $300 less. Is about $500 behind. So that means that even the portfolio is about, yeah, it's about $200 worse. Why is that? I mean, he holds more shares. We already said that. He holds 2 more shares because he holds 3 presidencies. These guys only hold a single presidency each. But of course, if you think about it, he does hold 3 more shares. But we're talking about 4 shares of the MSM. We're talking about 4 shares of the ECR. The ECR made good money compared where he started it. But still, these shares are pretty much here in the low value area, while the other guys are holding shares of the NWR and the EIR, which are the top valued shares here. So I guess in the end that definitely made the difference here. I mean, if you think about it, you know, 2 shares, basically 3 shares of the MSM are worth the same as a single share of the EIR. Not even that. Not even. Yeah, it's even more worth than that. So the 3 additional shares that he holds, or the 2 additional shares, it's just not. They are just not strong enough. And of course, this guy, I mean, it was obvious. I'm not sure where he fucked up, but I think maybe right from the beginning, he invested in the NWR a lot, which didn't perform that great. The BNR, and of course the EIR, they did really well pretty much from the beginning. And yeah, so that was definitely a problematical investment. He also gained his contract money back a little later than the others, which might be also a point. And now we can see that his portfolio also pretty much sucks. He holds no shares of the EIR. And that is because of this starting contract thing, right? He didn't manage to grab a share of the EIR, and everybody, of course, did, and they really wanted that. So in the end, he didn't have the opportunity to buy one of these shares, which it was pretty obvious they would perform well. And yeah, that's a tough rule here in the game. And then, yeah, NWR, the MSM, yeah, he holds not the best shares, of course. And then he's also far behind when it comes to the money. Anyway, I think we've seen a fantastic game, and especially the battle between the two with just one single share. That was really amazing. Just a few words about the game here. It feels very different compared to most of the other games that I've played, especially to 1830. If we compare it now to 1830, which most of the games, I mean, you usually compare your 18xx games to 1830. It's kind of your standard thing. And that is, it's very different to that. But I enjoyed it quite a bit. I really liked it. And it's definitely a game that that will hit the table again. There is no doubt. I had a really great time playing it. There might be better games out there of the 18xx series, at least for my taste, but it's definitely a great experience to play that one, and I love the variety that it offers. The fact that you can, one thing is, of course, the large map, right? That's an obvious difference. And then you have your 3 gauges here. So there is a lot of route building going on in this game. You really try to optimize everything, and it's a little different in the other games. The upgrades work a little different, and sometimes you can upgrade things to something you would not expect, but then you cannot upgrade other tiles as you would expect you could. So that's something you have to get a little bit used to. But it's clearly interesting and a nice new challenge here. Maybe the most important difference is, though, that there is basically no limit in what can be in the bank pool. So you can simply sell all shares of a company back into the bank pool, including the presidency. And that, of course, is a big, big difference. In addition to that, the companies don't need to have a train. So therefore, there is nearly no need to protect yourself against someone dumping a company on you. If things go really wrong, you might maybe lose a dividend for 1 or 2 operating rounds or so. But, it's not such a big deal in the end. It can be. Between these 2 guys, it could have been something. But if the result is close in the end, it can obviously be a deal. But it's not something that can destroy you like in other games, and not even the share value drops if other people sell. So that's another factor here. There is really no need to be afraid that you could get hurt too badly because someone else kind of screws the company and then dumps it or something. That is not going to happen here. You will definitely survive that. And that, of course, kind of invites you to try to invest in a lot of other people's companies, to really try to optimize your portfolio. There is no reason only to hold 10% or something. You can really say, hey, this company is performing well. I try to get a share of that, and I might sell other shares because they're not doing that great, and instead I'm going to invest in something different, and so on. So there is a lot of activity in the bank pool, at least during the first stock rounds. Now at the end, things have kind of settled down. Everybody was basically holding shares of well-performing companies, and the fact that these shares here or that company was run by a manager, of course, didn't help, because there were technically, you might say, there were 10 share less in the game, and so it wasn't too interesting to invest here for other people. But in the first operating rounds or stock rounds, there was a lot of trading going on. And also the fact that, for example, you cannot buy the presidency, but that you buy your shares, that you only buy really a single share, and not only a single certificate, but a single share out of the initial offer. That also helps with this, diversification. Can you say that? You know, that the shares are kind of more distributed between the players, because of course the president doesn't get that that 2-share jump start, right? When everybody bought a share or a certificate, everybody holds 10%, and then he can buy the next share. So it is more likely that we see a presidency here where a player holds the same number of shares than another player, like these two guys here with each 40% or so. Of course, it can happen also in other games, but here it is even more likely. Also, the fact that not all the companies start at the same time, but that first a number of companies have to be sold out. That's another thing which kind of pushes players toward investing in other players' companies. And I really like that, you know. I see that many people say that, yeah, you got in 1830, you can do all this stock manipulation, and you get a feeling like, what do they mean with that? What do they think about stock manipulation? What does that mean? I mean, they buy and sell stocks, right? And they're not doing crazy shit with that stuff. I don't see many games where you can really manipulate stock. Maybe in 1817, where you can do the short selling, you might call that a real stock manipulation. But apart from that, it seems to me like just a fancy word for buying and selling stock. And I think there's also a lot of the stock action going on here. In a way, maybe even more than in games like 1830. Of course, what might be more important in 1830 is the capital control. Because if you control the train rush in 1830, you can do more damage than in this game. So capital control is something which is totally important in 1830. And in all these games where you basically have to buy trains, right? Here, it is still a good thing because you can use the capital of other companies to get more trains in your own company. But if you're not doing that great, it's interesting that the players who actually hold only a single presidency and therefore controlled the least capital, that these players actually won the game. While this guy with his 3 presidencies, or that guy, they weren't doing quite as good. Another interesting factor in the game, and I find that actually a little disappointing. I was hoping that I would see, but that might be something that just because of this specific game now. But, you know, basically all the activity was totally focused here in the northeast of the map. In the western part of India, nearly nothing happened. You know, Bombay wasn't upgraded a single time. I think we've seen only 2 runs to Bombay, even though it makes a lot of money. But yeah, just a very few runs here with the narrow gauge train. And then when that train went away, it was so much more profitable to invest in a standard train which ran over here and made tons of money. And also here in the south, not too much what's happening. I mean, yes, we've seen that kind of west coast or east coast route here developing. And yes, people were investing in these cities. Here, I think that is Walter Ear. Then here, Madras. Okay. But apart from that, the minor companies that usually operate down here in the south, yeah, I mean, that wasn't too interesting at all. You know, they were basically just abused and players sucked the money out of them. And that's basically it. And they were performing really poorly. Maybe not so much the MSM, but especially the SIR. And that is a problem in the game that kind of bothers me a little bit. I wish it would be different. Usually what you see in your 18xx games is that at the beginning you start minor companies, or minor companies are more operating. For example, I don't know, 1822, 1817, you can see something like that also in, I don't know, let's see, 1854 or so. I don't know, but it is not that uncommon that you have more focus on the minor companies at the beginning of the game, and then later in the game they merge into major companies, or they are acquired by major companies. 18CZ would be another example, for example. Here it seems to be nearly the other way around, and I find that odd. Here it seems to me you want to start a major company, because these are the companies that can expand fast. You can lay 2 tiles with a major company, and that is worth a lot, especially if you have such a big map. You know, you have all these distances here, and therefore, especially at the beginning when you cannot hook up fast to the network, you want a major company. There is basically no doubt about that. I think I would never start a minor company at the beginning of the game. Maybe some people will. You could think about it when you say, hey, okay, I work together with another minor company here in the south. These 2 guys might consider working together, and then they could run the 1M narrow gauge maybe, and in that way make some amount of money. And they can also buy more shares of the smaller companies than other players. Maybe that gives them kind of a starting boost. But it's a pretty big risk, and especially on the long term, I don't think you can compete with these other companies. And if other players are kind of gaining the shares of the big companies, and you don't have an like here, you know, where these 2 guys hold 40% of the EIR, and then there was simply no option for him to get any more shares of that. That's painful, and you are only sitting on your minor company shares. I don't know if that's such a great concept, to be honest. So therefore, I think most people will probably invest in major companies, and most of them are located in this area, right? And so it kind of feels a little bit naturally that the game might develop in a way like that. Sadly, then the minor companies were mainly used to get fresh money into the major companies, because these were the companies that were making profit, Then you start a minor company which makes, I don't know, a run of 20 or 30 or 40 bucks. Well, fuck it. Why would you do that? Especially if you can sell it completely, including the presidency. So basically, you just take all the money from the minor company, buy your major company a big train, because the trains are super expensive in this game, and then sell all the crap of the minor company and let the president run it, you know. I'm not sure if I'm too happy with this mechanism. I wish it would be the other way around, that there would be some kind of rule that allows you to start only minor companies at the beginning, and then later in the game you are allowed to start your major companies. That could have been interesting. Also, we didn't see too much interesting thing going on with this narrow gauge, which I would think that would be super interesting. I would have loved to see the narrow gauge, but apart from here, basically, there was no successful route with a narrow gauge anywhere, which is a shame. But then again, you know, the miners operating down here, which are possibly most determined to do this narrow gauge, because we have here all this heavy terrain and all the dots and all, but they can only lay a single track per turn, and it will take them forever to do that. And if they get not started and just basically raped for another train of the major companies, they simply don't have the money to lay the to lay track there. I'm not saying it's in every game like this, but that is something I could be afraid of, that it might end up like that, which would be a shame, because then there are so many fancy things going on here, quite a bit of chrome, but in the end you don't really see that. So it will need more plays for me of that to really understand the different ways the game can develop. I'm clearly interested in seeing that, if there are other ways, if the miners can become interesting and powerful, if the narrow gauge is really a profitable alternative to your standard trains. All questions that are clearly interesting. I think it probably is, you know. This is a really long game which stood the test of time. There was a second edition, and they revised the rules. So I think they basically knew what they were doing here. And therefore, I guess there are alternative strategies in how you can use your miners and the narrow gauge more profitably. Okay, anyway, this is a great game. 1853, fantastic 18xx game. Maybe, for my own taste, not quite as good as a few of the others, which are really my favorites, but this is definitely great. I'm not one of these, it's not enough going on with the stock manipulation guys. For me, this is great. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed the game a lot, and there were a lot of interesting challenges. It's a game that brings a lot of variety into your 18xx collection. So I can absolutely recommend that. Maybe not at a beginner's game, maybe also not if you only want 1 or 2 games. There might be more interesting games out there. But if you have a small 18xx collection, this will definitely be an interesting part of it. Okay, so hope to see you on the next video or on lonesomegamer.com. Bye.